Hello, everybody. I'm Sherry St. Marie. If you don't know me, I know a lot of you know me and have known me for a long time. So thank you so much for showing up. Those of you who are live, we enjoy the live aspect, right? It's fun. It's kind of like being right in the game instead of recording and everything being perfect and edited. I kind of like the adrenaline of that. So what I'm going to do today, if you do not know me, is I am a master's adult level educator. And I am going to help you today learn a little bit about why do people not talk to sellers and buyers about Zillow and other brokerages, because it's a super important conversation. It is one that a lot of people don't necessarily explain, right? You're going to get it explained to you based on who's telling you. So in this presence, I'm just a master's level adult teacher in the United States of America. I'll say that part. I am also a licensed broker associate in the state of Florida, in the state of Wisconsin, but also a certified international property specialist with teammates of 88,000. I'm going to speak to you today as the consumer. So I'm talking to the consumer. If other agents want to listen, fine. We are always an inclusive sharing group of people. But here is the thing that's happening in this climate today as I air, and that is this can change at any time, right? The market in real estate, in the business dynamics, the law, all of these things is ever changing. I've been in it for 22 years, and in a large part, this is the biggest changes we've seen in a long time. Where I super care about today and always is the consumer and the rights they have and all of these kind of good things. Really intelligent consumers, both sellers and buyers, who are amazing humans, are intelligent, successful, all these things. They don't understand how a lot of this works, and it's not their fault at all. The dynamics change constantly. Certain things get explained in one way, and that's not exactly the whole shade, but okay. And then somebody else tells you the opposite, right? We're in the land of all of subject matters being. We have to educate ourselves. We have to understand a little bit of the piece. But today I'm super hyper for the consumer is why I'm sharing these things with you. So I already explained the part of who's speaking to you. This is the part of Zillow to start with. And why do agents not explain to you exactly how that business model works, how they started, and things like that? There's a very important and litigious reason that they don't. That's just a fact, and we'll just say that. There's been a lot of lawsuits, and so there's a lot of people who are like, whoa, I don't want to get caught up in all of that. But here's the thing. I can tell you historically facts that are in the public about any of these things. So that's the premise I'm going to take with this. Zillow, back in the day, started as a data mining company, purely data mining. They were mining data. Look at what happens, right? They can trap your number. You put your number in, you call to somebody. It's data mining, right? Today, the consumers have built it to such a huge level, which we understand. And a lot of that is good. And a lot of it is really important in the marketplace. And then there's other components and pieces, right? Back in the day, and it's important, I'm legally saying back in the day, they would trap this information and then they take the agent's name off of it for their own list from their own listings. And then they charge the agents if they want any of the leads or information back. And back in the day, they would give the same exact leads and charge them to 20 agents at a time. And that's why you got barraged with phone call. I heard you want to buy something. I heard you want to sell something. That was the whole business model, right? They have become, because it's consumer driven, the largest portal that everybody goes to for listings and information and housing and what did I think something's worth or not worth, and the Zillow's estimate. That's a whole nother thing, because they've not been in your home. They didn't see the fridge. They didn't see that you have got that gold carpet from the 70s. Like, that's a deduction. But anyway, so Zillow was this tech data company and whatever. Zillow has also legally and technically become a brokerage. And there's not a single agent or a single brokerage that is allowed to disparage another brokerage. That goes against antitrust laws, and it goes against the code of ethics if they are a realtor. We don't work there. I don't work there. So I can't 100% tell you how it is or how it went, okay? And we're going to move into a couple different things of why does this matter right now, Sherry? And why are you just passionate that the consumer knows so the consumer gets to decide? And I'll explain those things to you. So again, the biggest thing is Zillow's become massively important in the marketplace. They've become massively important in the marketplace because the consumer goes there and wants that. The consumer has built that up even way more than realtor.com or any other third-party source. So you need to see all that data mining and feeding as third-party sources. That's what it is. And also, Zillow's a brokerage. So they have a different layer of protection and ability and things like that. As back in that day, way back in the day, I'll say, Zillow would charge upwards of 40% of the total commission for that buyer lead if the agent was successful, or maybe some of their fees became, you are just paying a monthly service fee to get some of these leads. We don't know if they're good or bad leads. You may get lucky on one, you may hit the lottery on one, but that was the evolution of the business model and their style. There were fees and things. Here's super important for you, the consumer, and that is August 17th of 2024. All of a sudden, there were massive lawsuits in the billions over things. We are no longer able to talk to you about commission percentages, fees, things like that. I can talk to my particular prospective seller, my seller. I can talk to a prospective business buyer exactly with me and about me and with them and the agreement we want to do. But I can't out to the public say, oh, such and such company's doing this, or they're not charging that, or they're a discount. We legally cannot. There are fines. We could be sued. So as of August of 2024, there's no more of this big open discussion about commissions and things and whatever in the whole public party. It's become behind this veil, right? Sort of. However, what's important is where we are moving to is really ultimately a separation of here's the seller and the seller's side and the seller's stuff and the seller's decision and the seller's actual expense and the seller's really right to write off these expenses. And then same exact thing for the buyer. Eventually, we see the market moving this way. Right now, it's kind of in this flux, okay? So we've had these lawsuits, and there's always been different business models. So part of antitrust is from the 70s, guys. Business models and different business models are allowed to be used and produced in the marketplace as long as they're legal. So that's why you have upscale, very expensive luxury, and this is what we do, and here's the retainer you need to give us, and then there is the discounter. So I'll tell you the story now because it's so long ago in regards to antitrust. Back in 2003, when I was laid off from teaching, had just built our dream house, had 3 little kids, 2, 4, and 5, thinking, what in the world am I going to do? And people said, you need to get into real estate, Sherry. And I thought, oh my gosh, there's no way. Like, I want to be with my kids. I opened a brokerage myself in Middleton, Wisconsin, and I could not understand why at the time it was called commissions, were the dollar amount that they were. I just did not understand it. And so I was technically what they called a discounter. And I didn't understand the MLS. I don't know about this. The name of the company at the time was sellbuildbuy.com because everything was a .com. And I was working out of a Beetle Bug with a red flip phone. I very quickly got shut down from brokerages. I guess I won't say the brokerage name. By a particular brokerage that in their broker meeting on a Tuesday said, this woman who popped up with her purple signs, because nobody had a purple sign, I went to the paint department to see what do all the signs look like. They look like male colors, blue and black. So I went with purple. And it was causing a little bit of a commotion in Middleton, Wisconsin. And so this brokerage had a whole broker meeting to decide we will not show her listings. She's a discounter. We're going to get her out of the marketplace. Point being, different business models have a right to exist and to serve. And that is the whole point of antitrust. You don't get to go against certain companies. You don't get to boycott other companies. You do not get to speak ill of another company to gain competition advantage, right? So those points are important. And so we are allowed different business models. Those things mattered back then, they matter today. Today, we're moving into a wild, faster, billions of dollars swing about the stuff. And again, why I care is for the buyer and the seller to have a little bit of awareness so you can make some decisions for yourself. Because fair cooperation is a thing. I'm going to check the chat real quick and I'll be right back to you. Okay, thank you. I just got a couple of people checking in. Thank you. Fair cooperation is a very serious thing over antitrust. And if you are a realtor member, which is an association, ethics, the code of ethics. So we now have certain groups of brokerages that have decided they're going to try to move to just private listings. We'd like to talk our people into just doing private listings where we've got the seller and the buyer's wanting to come see us and they're with XYZ company, but we don't want that. We want to say, consumer, don't sign with them. The only way you're going to see our juicy listings is only to come to our brokerage. I just question that. And you have other people who are saying in law and in our new rules of fair cooperation, where if you want to be part of a multi-list service, which is MLS, and we have all these alphabets that are so confusing, you have to put your listing on within a certain number of days. Well, these brokerages that are really pushing the private only listings, they have said certain things to their sellers about, oh, you don't need the MLS. So you just can stay with us and we'll do the best job for you and we'll get you the best price because we're exclusive. I can understand, and always a seller gets to decide. I can understand in certain situations, absolutely exclusive listings are the best for that individual person. There's no question. We have certain people like that, whether it be over safety, or I always like to give some social comments at the time, right? I totally understand why Bill Belichick might want a private listing. I totally get why he may not want, especially at this time in history of his legacy, may not want just looky-loos coming to check out his bedroom and how is it and what's going on and all these properties that he or someone else owns. I get that. The other side of that is, will you get enough traffic for that really expensive multi-million-dollar thing if it's totally private or exclusive? I mean, maybe you do, depends on the network of the people and stuff. But again, the right is that person gets to decide. That seller gets to decide. The business model shouldn't drive, this is how we do it, and so you're going to do it like this with us. It's the seller who gets to decide, right? Point being. Now, here's the part of why the fair cooperation has become a legal thing. It's always bad actors, right? It's always bad actors. It's the ones who don't play the game nice in the realm of fairness in business and trade and things like that when it comes to consumer protection. So if I am ever in our old system, and why the MLS went away was certain agents, which sadly it was never me, but I'm consequenced with everybody else who did whatever, looking at what are the percentages certain people or sellers are giving, and I'm only going to show you the expensive house, right? So that was the, okay, we're not going to do that anymore. Now it's going to all go away. You're going to be like this, not knowing, and you're going to have to just take your buyer to wherever. And the seller may or may not be paying something, but the seller's not actually paying. It's coming off on the whole purchase price, right? A lot of consumers don't understand this. And a huge point of what we're really supposed to be doing at this time in history is disclosure to the public, fair cooperation, clear understanding, what is best for the marketplace, not what is best for my own private profit as I can woo you into whatever, just sign right here. But then we move into, okay, they've done this now. And new business models are emerging. That always happens in business. It's exciting. It's fun. I like it. It's interesting. Some of it's for me, some of it's so not for me. But we have really different, big, emerging business models right now. One of them happens to be the great big, because the big is always kind of takes over the little guppy, right? The big companies going like Zillow and others, and maybe Redfin and maybe Compass and maybe EXP and maybe all these different things. And again, I appreciate and support and am professional with every agent. That's my job. It's what we're supposed to be doing. That's what we want to be doing. But these business big models are taking over, having a little public battle, and you can see it. So Zillow right now is in a lawsuit with the National Association of Realtors. They are suing them over certain things regarding putting listings in the MLS or not, or other things like that. Zillow themselves, in a very large business move that we've not seen before, as far as I know, in 22 years, has taken a stance of, you seller, which really means if your agent messes up and doesn't explain it to you properly so that you can make a good decision, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, or they explain it to you wrong, you can't get your house on Zillow. Maybe, the legal word used was maybe. If you do not put it in the MLS within the first, however, 48 hours or 1 week, depending on your MLS in the area, you can't have it on Zillow, it won't be seen on Zillow. Today, there are 7,000 certain brokerage, I won't say the brokerage because I don't want to get into all this legal mess, a certain brokerage, 7,000 of their listings are being pulled from Zillow. It's in the news. Just check it out. And they can't come back on Zillow unless a different agent lists it. And I understand they're doing it because of clear cooperation. We need to participate in clear cooperation, in fairness, in if you want to multiply share your listings, because that's what an MLS is, or a third-party aggregate source. But then you also have to start to question, does another brokerage, because Compass is now a brokerage, right? Does another brokerage get to say, you don't get to see our listings, which are really coming from the seller agreeing to have it on the largest shown Zillow, right? And that's a great thing. But if you don't do it within the first week, you'll never get on here. The seller's really whose consequence, not that agent. The seller, your house, will not be shown in the US or globally. And does it, now that Zillow is a brokerage, do you get to say to another brokerage, you can't come back on our huge, fancy, juicy, big marketing machine unless you get a different agent? Well, that's an interesting question legally, right? So these different business models are emerging of some companies really trying to push towards exclusive only listings so they can control the data, so they can control the marketplace. Others are saying, hey, wait a second, we have laws of clear cooperation. We need to be willing and able to do that. And our sellers and our buyers and our consumers are getting caught in that stuff, which was exactly the opposite of what the whole lawsuits and pieces were about. We are supposed to be an industry of ethics and never, ever, ever putting the seller or the buyer ahead of our own profit or interest or brokerages. That is a huge component of our business. And yet not every agent does that. Not every brokerage does that. I want the consumer to know that is the most important part. We are supposed to be individually speaking and working with you on what is best for your particular situation. What do you want to do? You get to make the choice of, are you the right agent, or no, I don't like that agent, or that brokerage, I like the person, but I don't like the brokerage, or I love her, but she's not at the level I need her to be. Those are your decisions. We are never supposed to put ourselves or our private interests or what we need or anything above that consumer. And so it also doesn't mean that we, the agent, or we, the brokerage, have to do whatever it is you say we have to do. I have been in a situation multiple times, I could tell you stories that would just make your socks rock off, of the amount of people wanting to hire me, but these are the conditions, which have nothing to do legally with the conditions of real estate. And it especially in Naples, Florida. I don't have to agree to whatever the buyer and seller want me to do. When I'm saying the buyer and seller have to be the first priority above ourselves, we then, individual agents and also brokerages, get to decide, do we want to do business with you in these conditions? Are we willing to do it in this manner, right? Those are our decisions that we get to have. And so those things are important as a full caveat. When we have these different business models, again, that's perfectly fine. What's not fine is when a seller and a buyer, incredibly intelligent, really successful, and then also, because I'm an educator, the ones that have never done a contract before, don't understand. They would lose their shirt and their home and their ability because they don't get what you're talking them into or what you're saying while they're clicking and signing real easy. All those consumers matter. All those things need to be fair and good and explained and all of this stuff. That's the important part. When it is actually always a caveat of anything I ever say, and should be anything an agent or brokerage ever says, the caveat is the seller's actual preference and decisions when they understand the dynamics and their choices. That's the part that's super, super important and I care a lot about. Having said this and these things, my own personal opinion at this time today, does my seller want to be on Zillow? Gosh, I mean, they are the biggest, largest. Why would I prevent them? I say yes. Do we love every piece of every business model and every brokerage? No. No. And do I know everything? No, not necessarily. But do you see how I'm trying to give you balanced information? I want to give you balanced information. And then you just need to understand the market is moving, the industry is changing, ever changing. If you're in developments, meaning communities and things like that are bigger legal and stuff, it's always changing. And so the important part is that, you actually have somebody who you can trust, that you are making decisions with, and that you are talking these pieces out. I understand because I hear it every single day. I hear a lot more consumers saying, agent, I just need you to tell me what to do because this is just so confusing and different and dynamics that I didn't understand. We can help you make decisions by giving you a bit of advice and things like that. But again, the biggest invitation to consumers is that we aren't in a place in modern history in real estate where you can count on your agent to just make decisions for you. That was never legally fine. But today, it's more important because of due diligence and your rights and responsibilities that you can't have this attitude in the marketplace of, oh, I got a great agent. She or he is going to just handle it for me. That is so not the right great thing to do. We are an industry, although I love and have challenges in it and like and dislike a lot of things, right? Back in the day, listing agents used to be the boss. It was big dog, little dog is how it was explained, right? Big Great Dane and little Yorkie. The little Yorkie was the buyer, buyer's agent. You had to do whatever the seller said. You said jump high, turn around 3 times and snap your fingers. You better do it for me because I'm watching and you're not coming near my seller unless I, The seller didn't say that. The seller knew nothing about that. We are in a beautiful dynamic I'm excited about of, what? Listing agent, and I'm a listing agent and I'm a buyer agent. You are not in charge anymore. You do not speak for your buyer. We want to, we get to, I want to. The actual seller should be speaking to the buyer in writing in a contract. That's how we know. What did the seller say? What did the buyer say? What do they want? Not us moving the football and turning the corner and stuff. That's what's the good part. So we're moving to that place and we need consumers to understand you have to actively participate. I'm here to be a great teammate with you. I'm here to help you kind of make your pieces, make your decisions, stuff like that. But you didn't hire someone to just handle it all for you. We just can't anymore in this day and age. And I think that's a good, important message to get out. Here's the part that's moving, and I want to end with a little bit of these pieces. Here's the part that it's moving to that I have my eyes on that you may not see. So I care about this to help you. This whole thing about what's going on with Zillow and other brokerages and what's happening, it's about a lot of things. And it's also, heads up, it's also about who controls and who's in place in case smaller MLSs fail. Yes, because some smaller MLSs throughout the United States have closed for different reasons, whether that be expensive lawsuits or whatever else. There's a bigger picture going on here about how do we make sure that the multiple list services, data mining, I don't mean the data mining, I mean the third-party sources of getting the information out there. We do have to protect that that's an option and ability and all that kind of stuff, because if for whatever reason, I know the MLSs have been around a long time, but guess what? I know the dinosaurs are gone too. We always thought the dinosaurs would last forever because they're so huge and they could eat us. But guess what? They died. They died. And dinosaurs die. That's what happens. Sometimes it's stressful. Sometimes it's exciting because new things and models in life emerge, right? Some of that's exciting. Part of this larger thing is about how do we make sure that there still is maybe it's a large MLS intact. If you even look at Mauricio Umansky, he tried or is trying or did try to create a national MLS, right? Why was he trying to do that? He was trying to do that because and again, he's $1 billion real estate owner in California, right? He was trying to do that because he was also wanting to get control of the MLS data, right? But also he was trying to make sure, do we have something in place in the United States in case any of these little MLSs go down? Because sometimes the little have a hard time with the big, although fair housing and the antitrust say we get to be little tiny and we get to be big, huge, but not too big, huge. That's really what's going on in between some of this stuff that you're seeing is about having a source for consumers, which we want and is a good thing. If you want to sell your house yourself, please do that. I've never talked to for sale by owner into, gosh, you can't do that. You're stupid. I want to make this miserable till you sign with me. You get to make your choices. But a lot of this bigger thing you need to get your head up about is about the MLS concept, period. So that consumers, when they go look at trying to buy a house, they don't see just to buy your Aunt Betty Lou. Because I love her, but I might not want to live there. Those pieces are good and important. A seller, again, wants the most exposure for the most part. If they don't, great, it's your choice. Sell it just on your block, totally fine. But most people will find when they did not have the access to the MLS, the percentage of where they actually sold their property and the quality of that buyer, not as a human being, but as were the terms fair and good? Was the contract smooth? Did they get to closing? Was much better when you can talk to a whole pool of people and then whoever this house is great for, come to me. I'll give you an example right now. A piece of it right now is I have somebody who called me up and said, hey, Sherry, I'm just looking for like a really great deal right now. I mean, okay, but I'm in Southwest Florida, and especially, in Naples, that doesn't happen a whole lot and whatever. But anyway, this person called and said, I just want like the greatest deal. That's all I'm looking for. And what she was looking for was like $85,000, even less than this price point that was under $400,000, which we almost never find here, right? That's fabulous, but that has nothing to do with my seller, right? So we get in these spots where buyers decide, gosh, I think I'm going to, do this in the marketplace, or I have access to this piece, or whatever. Part of what teaches us being able to see multiple properties, each individual seller is their own decision, their own dynamics, their own situation. And the same thing for a buyer. If you're going to remove so much that buyers can't see and don't have enough choice, that hurts, for the most part, a buyer and also the seller. And what are we supposed to be doing? We are supposed to be serving the public. We are a service job. We are not supposed to be profiting over the actual consumer. That's why we have consumer protection, right? So I just want to put this little piece in play to you about when you see actually agents, and I see it all over social media right now, so there's huge posts going on about really going after certain brokerages, Zillow, which is actually a brokerage, and other agents and brokers making comments and just, wow, don't do that because they are a brokerage. We are not allowed to disparage them. You could lose your license for it. We can't do any of this antitrust stuff. What I'm allowed to do is to just be a neutral educator in the marketplace, particularly being a master's level adult educator. Again, the ending point is that there is no agent or no brokerage that should benefit, profit, get fun and deals and toys and things above the consumer themselves that's in the transaction. That's the whole point. And sellers and buyers don't understand our industry, and it's not their fault at all. I mean, even if they have done this a couple times, they've never been in this environment. They've never been in where everything is moving constantly. I am in more than 15 hours of classes a week, and I have been repeatedly for the last lots of years, but particularly this year. It's because that's just what's happening, and it's super important. I am passionate also about real estate, obviously. I want to just in a positive realm be out there giving you little things for you to think about or check on or ask questions. Ask of the agent and the brokerages that you trust and want to work with, which is great. And I am certainly and always have been an agent who I am not what we call broker centric. That means I'm so happy to work with any agent, any broker, as long as we're doing nothing illegal, right? I will not go to jail for anybody. It's just been a policy for life. And it matters. I am of the Midwest, down in the Southwest, but really can refer and be all over. It's about professionalism. It's about doing the right, good job. It's about selling that property for that seller, not sitting there and scooping up the open house about everything but their house to just get names. It's not about trapping buyers when they don't understand what they're signing or any of those kind of great things. So I appreciate you taking the time live, and thank you for those of us who joined me live. I also so appreciate and love the fact as a adult educator that this will stay up years and years, that you can watch whenever you want to, while you're walking the ocean, while you're sitting in your freezing winter, while you are working out, or whatever you want to do to spend time with me and just learn a little bit about real estate. If you have any specific questions, please feel free to contact me. Have an awesome day.